Yeah, if I could give one thing to my children as an educator, that would be the ability to tell the good from the bad. I think were I to give them this ability, they would be able to direct their life towards the good. And on this show, we'd like to learn how can we build a compass that will help us always direct ourselves towards the good. For this, we have to understand what is a good place, what is a bad place, and how can I direct myself towards the good? Because we know that many times in life we have good intentions, but it turns out bad. We want to direct our life towards something good, but for some reason you get the very opposite. Sometimes by mistake we find some good place and so on. We want to be those that can aim themselves intentionally towards the good. So, what is that ability to discern between the good and the bad? In the meantime, I don't know what good and bad is. If, like a child, I want different things, sometimes I get them from my parents and sometimes I don't. They tell me, no, this isn't good for you. Sometimes they say, no, this is bad for you. And from that I learn what bad is. And there are things that I'm told that they're good. And what I'm told that it's good, I don't like it that much. Yeah, I have to learn and read and know this and know that. Be a good boy. So, we have to finally see what is good and what is bad. There's no absolute good or bad, because there's no such sticker in the world that you can stick good on this and stick bad on that with different numbers, how good it is or how bad that is, degrees. But it all depends on education. This is one thing. And another thing is that we see that in different societies, civilizations, nations, there are different conventions that this is good and that's bad, and also in every nation. There are people that are more inclined towards certain things, thinking they're good, and others think that they're bad and that they have good things of their own. Meaning, the definition of good and bad is very loose. We also see that if a person was educated in a certain way, persuaded, and he determined for himself that this is good, to change his mind and to explain that this is bad and that something else is good is very hard, and so on. It also depends on the inclination a person has from nature, from birth, from his parents, his friends, from society, from everything. It's very hard for a person to exchange the good for the bad and the bad for the good in terms of his values. In order to differentiate good and bad, we need some measurement that will be above all the conventions and doubts of ours, that it doesn't depend on the party I'm a part of or the part of society I belong to, whether I'm rich or poor, or black, white, red, yellow. It doesn't depend on my nationality or anything else. There has to be a definition of good and bad which is beyond humanity, and for this definition to be beyond any doubt. And only then, on condition that I hear, see, understand that that's how it is, then, towards that definition that this is good and this is bad, I can start calibrating my life, my actions, and so can everyone else. But humanity has to see it as if it's written in the sky. this is called good and this is called bad. And then accordingly, we'll be able to start learning how do we differentiate good and bad with all of their different manners, that there are some small differences between them and big differences. If it's big, no problem, everyone sees that. If it's small, it's a problem, not everyone sees it. You have to teach people. You have to imbue them with the sense of the recognition of evil, and against that, the sense for the recognition of good. And then they'll be able to scrutinize good and bad much more delicately and to see what has to be done accordingly. As it says, remove yourself from evil and do good. The sense you were talking about, that gives me a better understanding of what the good and what the bad is. Now, you also said that we all come from different cultures, education, we have different genes, meaning everyone in the world right now has a different good and bad. Yes. And you're talking about a sense that will allow me to recognize what good and bad is, which is beyond any doubt. Yes. So this sense can develop in any one of us, the sense for the recognition of good and evil. This is called the tree of knowledge, good and bad. I don't want to confuse anyone, but that's how it's called. It's an entire tree, it's the whole world, it's our entire life. How do we develop this sense and what is it? Who has this sense? Where do you buy it? Who needs it? Who needs it? Meaning, until humanity hits the wall like a donkey with its head bumping into the wall, saying it's impossible to move on, but only towards worse and worse situations. Till then, you can't come to humanity and say, I have the ability to develop in us the sense of the recognition of good and evil. I don't understand. I have 4 children. You said that the definition of good and evil depends on the education, culture, where you live, and so on. I want to give them the ability to discern, to feel what good and bad is as an absolute. So how do I start directing them? Can you direct them? This is what I came to you for. You're talking about children. First of all, you have to acquire this sense yourself. That's why we're sitting here, so I want to start from the end. First of all, we have to understand what absolute good and bad is, beyond culture and conventions and so on, which is above any human mistakes. So let's first define that, and then there will be the question of how do I guide them there. But first of all, this is what we have to understand, the definition of absolute. What is the absolute definition of good and bad? Balance, harmony, completion between all of nature's forces, that being the good state. Yes. And the bad state. It's opposite. Disbalance. Incompletion. Up to wars and disasters, that then there's the outburst of one force over the other. Good over bad and bad over good. Also, good without bad isn't good. You can say, sunlight, so good. Increase it. Suppose you have a regulator. Increase it by 2-3 times. Let's see if it's good. It burns. So everything is good if it's balanced. Okay, so from this definition, I understand that the balance, harmony, and completion between all forces is good, and the bad is the very opposite, which brings to wars and collisions and different problems. Okay, so here we gave an absolute definition. Now, from this, can you please build me a compass that I'll always know that I'm in the right direction? What can you give me so that every moment in life I'll be able to check that I'm directed towards the good? You have to be balanced on the animate level, the bodily level, and on the human level. What do you mean by human level? Human level meaning you and the environment and society. relations between people. Yeah? And on the spiritual level, you, with your life, with the purpose of life, with your perception of reality, with your spirituality, your godliness, you have to be in balance with all these things. I'm talking about 3 degrees. You said bodily, human, and spiritual. Bodily meaning that all my systems in the body will be balanced. Physiology. Yeah, the ordinary life that you live. But it's not only that, it's also family and children. Everything has to be balanced. I'm not talking about the relations between you. This already, the human level. Yes. And the human level is especially towards others. But, the way you handle things at home, the way you teach your children how to handle things, attitude towards food, sex, family should be balanced. This is also something that a person has to be taught. A person has to be taught everything. He doesn't know anything. When a person's born, he doesn't know how to do anything compared with some cub that after a day or two, it's walking around looking for something. Child, nothing. Only knows how to cry. Okay, now let's talk about the human levels, the level of the relationships in our life. I asked you to give me a compass. You said that I have to be balanced. What does it mean to be balanced on the human level in my relationships? That you are in such a way with others that there's no difference between you. What do you mean? That there's no difference between you, that you feel yourselves as belonging to one human body, one system, that you, between yourselves, want to be in a balanced form of give and take, that you're drawn to it so that each one of you will feel no difference between himself and the others. That much. As simple as that. You and me and him, feeling all of us as one. Really so. That we depend on each other and we don't even feel the dependence because immediately you get a response. What you want, please, you'll be given. What they want, you gladly, immediately provide them with. Meaning to have these kinds of relations, that means to be in balance. In give and take, in these two counter forces that exist in each and every one. One for all and all for one. This is how you behave. That's called balance in human society. And we'll have to come to that.